It all started with the crackling sound of gravel under my boots, the sun dipping low behind the hills, casting a golden light on the fields I'd worked for years. My farmhouse, quiet, steady and mine, stood like a loyal dog waiting for its owner to come home. But I never expected a stranger to be standing on the porch like she owned the place, and I definitely didn't expect her to start screaming that I was trespassing on my own land. I remember pausing, half stunned, one hand on my belt, not out of fear, but out of instinct. That instinct you develop after 15 years as a sheriff's deputy. The woman was in her late 50s, sunglasses too large for her face, and a short, aggressive haircut that screamed, HOA President. She looked me up and down like I was a drifter who wandered off the highway. "You don't belong here," she snapped, holding up her phone. "I'm calling the police." "I am the police," I replied, pulling back my jacket just enough to show my badge. She faltered, but only for a second. "I don't care what badge you flashed. This property belongs to the Claremont Preservation Society. I have paperwork." That was new. I'd owned the farmhouse for 6 years. My name was on the deed. The taxes? Paid. The renovations? Done with my bare hands. She was bluffing, I was sure, but something told me this wasn't just a misunderstanding. Something deeper was going on here. I stepped up to the porch, slow and calm. "Mom, I think you're mistaken. This land's mine. Bought it fair and square at an auction when the previous owner passed. I've got the deed in my truck." But she blocked the door. "You need to leave, or I will have you arrested. You're trespassing," I said firmly, "and obstructing a law officer." Her eyes narrowed. "That badge doesn't mean anything out here. Not anymore." That's when it clicked. This wasn't just some confused neighbor or an overseer. Ela's history buff. She knew exactly what she was doing, and someone had told her she had the right to be here. I turned on my heel, walked back to the truck, and grabbed the deed folder from the glove box. Laminated, notarized, and with the county seal clear as day. When I came back, she was filming me on her phone. "Here," I said, holding the papers toward her. "You can stop recording now." She snatched them and started flipping through, lips twitching. "You forged this?" "You can call the sheriff's office if you want. Ask for Deputy Marcus Rowe. That's me." The silence was thick. She looked up slowly. "You've made a big mistake, Mr. Rowe." And just like that, she turned and walked into the house. I stood frozen, watching her disappear into my home like she owned the place. The audacity made my jaw clench. My first instinct was to storm in and drag her out myself. But training kicked in. Handle it clean, handle it smart. I radioed dispatch. "This is Deputy Rowe. I've got a situation at my residence. Possible unlawful entry. Female suspect, white, mid-50s, claims ownership of property. Requesting backup." 10-4, the voice crackled. "Unit en route." 15 minutes later, the sheriff himself rolled up. Tom Wells. He'd been my mentor since I was a rookie. The minute he stepped out of his cruiser and saw me standing there like a fool on my own porch, his eyebrows lifted. "What the hell's going on here, Marcus?" I filled him in. Everything. The claim, the threats, the paperwork. We both walked up and knocked hard on the front door. No answer. We knocked again. Still nothing. "Ma'am," Tom called, "this is Sheriff Wells. You're unlawfully occupying private property. Open this door or we're coming in." Silence. Then, the lock clicked. She opened the door just enough for us to see her smirking. "This is our property now. We reclaimed it under state historical rights. This farmhouse is a landmark." That was when Tom gave me a side glance. She might be referring to that new preservation loophole. There's been rumors some activist groups have been exploiting it. "She said Claremont Preservation Society," I replied. Tom nodded slowly. "That group's popped up in 3 counties already. Claims they're saving historic homes, but really just squatting and flipping properties." My blood boiled. "This isn't just a squat," I said. "She walked in like she had keys." "Which means someone gave them to her." Tom looked past her into the hallway. "Ma'am, step aside. We're conducting a lawful check of the premises." "I will file a complaint," she hissed. "You're welcome to," he replied, and pushed through. Inside, everything was as I left it, except for one thing. A stack of manila folders on my kitchen table, labelled Historical Property Claim Forms, Claremont Region. "This was organised," I said. "She's not alone." Tom nodded grimly. "Nope. And we're just getting started. We brought her in. No cuffs, not yet, but she was hostile the entire ride to the station." Tom called in a contact at the county records office while I went through the files we took from the table. The deeper I dug, the worse it looked. Claremont Preservation Society wasn't just one woman. It was a web. They'd filed claims on over a dozen properties across 3 counties, all old houses, many rural. Their strategy was simple. Walk in, assert squatter rights under the guise of historic reclamation, and dare the owners to fight it. And sometimes it worked. They played dirty, confusing paperwork, delayed legal proceedings, and in cases where the homeowner wasn't around, like vacation homes or inherited land, they'd file fake caretaker notices and stay long enough to start renovations. Once the courts got involved, it became a mess of red tape. But this time, they picked the wrong guy. "You sure she had keys?" Tom asked again, watching her through the interview glass. "Positive," I said. "Which means someone on the inside gave them access." Turns out the previous owner's nephew had gone into debt and secretly sold a second set of keys to one of these preservation agents. They used that to justify their entry and forged a paper trail. But they didn't count on one thing: me being present, me having proof, and me having authority. When we put the evidence together, my deed, the key sale record, her own filmed footage, the case unraveled fast. She refused to speak. Until we showed her a video of a different homeowner from a nearby county testifying about how Claremont stole their great-grandfather's cabin. That cracked her. "I was just following orders," she said. "They told me it was abandoned, that I was reclaiming history, that it was ours by right." "But it's not," I said. "It never was." The arrest was quiet. Formal charges: trespassing, fraud, and conspiracy to commit property theft. As she was led out of the station, she looked back at me, no longer with arrogance, but something closer to regret. Maybe even fear. But it didn't matter. She made her choice. Within weeks, the Claremont Preservation Society fell apart under investigation. Several members were indicted. The entire operation had been a profit scheme wrapped in the flag of heritage. They weren't preserving history. They were erasing it. The farmhouse? I kept it. Boarded up the windows, changed the locks, reinforced the gates. And just to be safe, I installed a few cameras. One on the porch where she first stood. A reminder. Not just of what I nearly lost, but of how close the law can come to being ignored when people think they're smarter than the system. I still drive past her face on the county bulletin sometimes. Still get questions from folks who saw the footage I turned over. I became a bit of a local story. But I didn't want fame. I just wanted peace. And I got it. Because in the end, no matter what papers she flashed, no matter what story she told, there's only one truth that matters. I had the deed, and I had the badge. And that beat her lies, every single time,